Ti amo.
Я люблю тебя.
אני אוהבת אותך. kocham cię. Sei seviyorum.
Eu te amo.
Ich liebe dich.
Je t'aime.
Jag älskar dig.
Ti amo, which means I love you.
Hey everyone, welcome to the second episode of the Addictions Podcast. What you just heard was how to say I love you in 10 different languages. The reason why that played is because here at the platform, we want to let you guys know that you are loved and people do care about you. But also tonight's episode is going to be focusing on the addiction of love. Now, like last week and every week from now on, Bonnie LaPorta, the host and the teacher of this podcast, will be leading us in a lesson about addictions and everything surrounding addictions. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the host of the Addictions Podcast, Bonnie LaPorta.
Happy Monday, everyone. It is your host, Bonnie LaPorta. Thank you for listening in. We appreciate your listening. I'm here to talk to you today about love. I wanted to do this podcast this month because this is Valentine's month and everybody gets super excited about love. Love is in the air. It's Valentine's Day. We see all the commercials. We see all the love signs. We see Cupids. We see red and pink everywhere. So I wanted to talk a little bit tonight. This is going to be the part one of love addiction. So I just want to talk about love addiction. For some people, Valentine's Day or the month of February is not so wonderful for them because we have people that have a hard time finding love. It's like they're looking for love in all the wrong places, and it may not be that as much as it is maybe it's how they perceive love or how they receive love or their lack of understanding love or the way their brain is just wired. The way they see love. Love addicts don't see love or receive love the way normal people brains do. We talked last week about how the brain is rewired and how the synapses and the dopamine is released and there's a firing off and it makes the brain not think reasonably. And those neurotransmitters can happen in love addiction and sex addiction as well as pornography as well. So we heard 10 different ways to say I love you. This is Valentine's month again. How many different ways can I say I love you? Here we go. Let's look at this one. She took my breath away. That's one of the things we hear when we meet somebody. He swept me off my feet. Those are all normal. Does he or she love me or love me not? I don't remember if anybody did this. I know I did as a little girl. I would take a rose petal or a dandelion or anything that had leaves that I could pull the leaves off, and I would say, he loves me, he loves me not. He loves me, he loves me not. And the very last petal will determine my fate of love outcome for at that moment, at that time. But I was a little girl, and I was just playing. It was just a little game that I played. But I just want to talk about what love is. We'll talk about the healthy form of love, and we're going to compare the two different ways of how a love addict sees love tonight and how a healthy relationship that two people that are in love have. We're going to look at that tonight and define those things. But first, I want to talk about love, define love addiction. Even for secure, attractive personality, falling in love can temporarily disorient us. We are all familiar with phrases such as, I just said, she took my breath away, or he swept me off my feet. Usually, however, this initial whirlwind is followed by a period of trust building and an establishment of true intimacy based on mutual respect and understanding. And those are the keys right there, a mutual respect and a mutual understanding between reciprocal parties. So you're giving and taking. The above phrase often have a very different meaning for a love addict, though. Their signal destabilization and loss of autonomy. Infatuation can mark the beginning of a downward spiral into obsession and constant preoccupation with the person in love with. Why is this experience of falling in love so different for a love addict? The answer lies in their motivation and underlying approach towards love itself. For the addict, falling in love is a means of escape rather than an opportunity for growth. The addict seeks either to enhance pleasure or avoid pain. Rarely are their actions in love about the magic of genuinely encountering another person, flaws included. Love addiction is a pain and a debilitating illness. Just like alcoholism, here's a summary of the major symptoms followed by a description of what might constitute alternative healthy behaviors. Tolerance is one of the first steps in addictions of any kind. The love addict requires increasing displays of romance, contact with the object of affection, or emotional highs related to being in love. A healthy partner recognizes another's limitations and boundaries and does not use the other person as an object to medicate emotions. So those are the two differences from a healthy relationship and a person that has a love addiction. Withdrawal. If this is supply of romance becomes threatened, the love addict experiences withdrawal symptoms akin to those of an alcoholic or a drug addict. Anxiety, physical ailments, sleeplessness, eating problems, despair, or anger. They may even retaliate. When faced with disappointment, a healthy partner practices acceptance and patience, realistically assessing their lover's availability and deciding to move on if unhappy. Isolation is the third approach that a love addict has. The love addict slowly becomes more and more preoccupied or enmeshed with romantic affairs, to the exclusion of self-care, work responsibilities, family, and friendships. Isolation sets in. A healthy partner pursues life goals independently, continuing to grow as a person in all areas. He or she maintains strong ties to a community, whether it is a family, person in all areas, okay, family, friends, or supports group, such as a 12-step program or a therapy group. Denial. Most people that have any kind of addiction suffer some denial. Denial is probably the biggest telltale sign of somebody that has some type of addiction. I usually use the joke in my group, and I always say, we need to get out of the longest river in Egypt, which is denial. And it's always a nice joke, just to break the ice and keep the lightness on what we're dealing with. It's good to laugh. So denial for the love addict returns to hurtful or dangerous relationship over and over, unable to extricate himself or herself from the situation or remove themselves. They're stuck. A healthy partner acknowledges a dysfunctional partnership and recoils from it. So somebody that's healthy recognizes when somebody is not treating them right or abusive or just not being treated with the dignity and respect that most relationships have when they're healthy, and they leave it. Seeking the help of a support group or therapist is necessary. So those are the first signs of the love addict. I want to really go deeper into this, and I want to talk about a few other things that has to do with love addiction. There are 30 different differences between love and love addiction. We're going to talk more about that so you can really get a better understanding. Relationships based on love addiction can be intoxicating. Over time, however, love addicted relationships become more drama-filled, harder to sustain, and inflict increasing costs on both partners. How can you tell whether you are creating authentic love with another person as opposed to falling in love with love? And that's the thing with a person with love addiction. They are in love with the idea of being in love. They're not in love with a person. They're in love with a fantasy. Both love and love addictions can be exciting and life-changing. The beginning phase of romantic love, even in a healthy relationship, can feel exhilarating and sometimes bring mood, cognitive, and neurobiological changes similar to those induced by drugs. But if you know what to look for, there are clear signs that distinguish love addiction from authentic love. We're going to talk about 30 differences between love addiction and authentic love. Characteristic of a love addiction. We're going to take this step by step, and at the end of the program today, I'm going to have a part 1 and part 2. This is part 1. I want you to really understand the difference between love addiction and healthy love, because this is the month of February, and I want everyone to experience love. But in experiencing love, you have to really take a self-examination of yourself and say, What is it about me is why I'm not able to experience love? And one of the things I say in my group, and it's another funny that I like to say, I say, when you come to the group, we keep everything real. No fluff here, all real. And we're a lot like Shrek. Shrek was the movie, if anybody's familiar with the big green ogre. And Shrek said it best. He said, I'm like an onion with many layers. And peeling off those layers, you can get to the middle or the center of the onion, which is the heart of the onion, and you can really deal with the problem. So when we're able to pull off the layers of pseudo, falsehood, what we desire, fantasy, and get to the heart of what's really going on, we can begin to heal, be helped by a professional counselor, go to a 12-step, or go through self-care and read self-help books, or speak to a counselor professional about what's really the reason for your inability to be in an attached, healthy relationship. So we'll talk more about that towards the end of the podcast. We're going to talk about those things that may be hindering you from having a healthy relationship. So, the characteristics of a love addiction. The relationship is based on need. So this person that has an addiction to love, they make the person the center of their whole world, like their nucleus. Like they cannot live, breathe, or eat without this person. Like they're kind of connected for like a life support system. If they're not able to be with that person or talk to that person or hang out with that person or just constantly pull from that person, they don't feel good about themselves and they have a bad day. But a person, characters of a healthier love, the relationship is based on desire. So you have a desire one for another. It's reciprocal. You like me, I like you, I love you, you love me. It's a back and forth. It's not a one-way street. For a love addiction, your relationship is driven by feeling incomplete or flawed without a partner. So again, your relationship is driven by feeling incomplete or flawed without a partner. So in a healthy relationship, the relationship is based on feeling sufficient and whole with or without a partner. So if you find people that feel like they must or have to be in a relationship to feel like their world will be better, that's usually telltale signs of some type of love addiction or sex addiction or some kind of underground, deep-rooted dysfunction there. If they feel like they're not whole without a person, because everybody can be content and whole without another person in their life. They can function just fine. That's the way God made us. Your relationship is based on who you want the other person to be. So there's that fantasy side of the love addiction. A love addict not only sees the person, but they try to fantasize about who they want that person to be, and they create this fantasy world of perfection and beauty and unicorns, poops, and princesses. So this person can do no wrong, and that's the fantasy world in which the love addict produces. But characteristics of a healthy relationship, in this relationship, your relationship is based on who the other person is. So you accept the person for who they are, good, bad, and ugly, because we know that there's no perfect person out here, and everybody has flaws, and you're able to work through those things. And right there, I'm going to pause and talk about the 80-20 rule. I'm not sure if anybody saw one of the Tyler Perry movie. It talked about the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule is this: when you meet someone that has 80% of all the qualities that you would like to build your life with as a soulmate and a life mate, 80% is a passing grade, which is a B in most places when you grade. 20% is probably 20% of the things that the person don't have that you're looking for in a person, but that's still realistic, because in reality, nobody's going to be the perfect person for you, and that person's going to have an off day. They're going to get angry. They may drop something. They're going to mess up. We're here to be human is to err, and you accept that. And I always tell my children when I talk to them, you have to love someone and accept them for them when they're good, bad, and ugly days. If you can love them on their ugly days and their bad days, and at the worst point, then you're able to love that person through anything. And that's called unconditional love or agape love. And we'll talk more about different types of love. The characteristics of love addiction. Chemistry is the top priority in the beginning. So they're driven by the chemistry. It's the top priority. Nothing else matters. Me and this person click. We got such magnetism. It's just fire. And that's the infatuation point, because most people, when they first meet somebody, it's like a new toy. You're happy about it. You're excited about it. It's like, I'm feeling this person. The hormones are going. You got a lot of spark going. That's in a love addiction relationship. That's constantly in the beginning. That's the priority. That nothing else matters. They don't look at the fact that this person, where they live, their other habits they have. Are you compatible in your work life and home life and the way you see? Do you want to have children? Don't you want to have children? Do you want to get married? Do you want to get married? Do you want to be in a serious relationship, or do you just want to have a casual relationship? They never see that. They just kind of look at the whole chemistry as everything. But a healthy relationship, chemistry is one among several priorities. And those are some of the things I just talked about. If you want to pursue a lifelong relationship with someone, if you're looking for a soulmate, do you have the same values? Do you have the same background as far as religious beliefs? Do you have the same values in raising children? Do you even want children? Do you budget your money? Are you a spender? Are you a budget? All those things are priorities as you get to know someone and their habits in life as you're connecting with them. Do they like sports or don't they like sports? Do they want to live in a house or do they want to live in an apartment? Do they want to live in the country? Do they want to live in the city? These are questions that you want to ask, because you don't want to have that conflict of interest down the road. What's your life aspirations? Do you like your job or don't you like your job? Are you content with life? Are you typically a happy person? I mean, these are all kind of things you need to find out as you get to know your person that you're dating or getting to know. The love addiction, your life becomes about the relationship. In a healthy relationship, the relationship enhances your goals and commitments to your life. So the difference between that is the love addict centers everything around the relationship. It becomes the nucleus or the sole reason for being, or it's like their lifeline or their oxygen tank. The relationship. So everything is centered around that relationship for the entire time, not just the infatuation stage. You fall in love with love. So that's the person they fall in love with the idea of being in love. Amour, all the ambiance, the butterflies. That it's almost like that dopamine high of a drug addict or alcoholic or drug substance abuse. This is a behavior more behavior addiction, but they have that same high going happening in their life of being in love. And in a healthy relationship, you fall in love with a person. You know this person is real. This person, again, is 80-20. This person has needs. You have needs. The person have wants. You have wants. It's respect. It's understanding. It's knowing you have to work through some things. You're going to have tough days, but commitment is necessary. Dedication and working together in a mutual walking and learning journey together to make this relationship work. Love addict, you seek to rescue or to be rescued. So you're coming along. You want to be like Prince Charming, jumping off a horse, scooping up Snow White. Oh, I'm going to save you. Let me give you a magic kiss. And voila, you come back to life. Or they're one of those people that want to be rescued. I just wish my Prince Charming would come and my life would be so much better. If I get married, I'll be so much better. Then my life is not, I'm just not complete without him. But in a healthy relationship, you seek a relationship between equal, capable individuals. So everybody's kind of carrying their own weight. You're working together. You're working out things in a real world, not a fantasy world. You know, it takes two, give and take, as you work together. Love addict, you fail to set healthy boundaries. This one is huge. But in a healthy relationship, you insist on healthy boundaries. So sometimes in human life, we do things and we overstep our boundaries. And we just maybe say something, or we're inconsiderate. That let's say somebody we're waiting on, they have us waiting for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Maybe somebody's inconsiderate by maybe saying a harsh word to you that you don't like, that you feel is like a little too much. Person that's a love addict kind of brushes off. So, okay, it's no big deal. They're just being who I love them for who they are. But a person that set healthy boundaries say, honey, you told me to meet you at 9 o'clock and you showed up at 9:25 and I waited for you for 25 minutes. I really felt like that was inconsiderate. If you were going to be late, you should at least have given me a call, so I will be aware of it. That's setting healthy boundaries. Or if somebody says something about, maybe you have on a certain outfit and you feel good about it, you think you look nice, and they'll say something, you look like a pop, you look like a Sprite can because you're wearing green, and they may be thinking it's funny, but it may hurt your feelings. So you're able to communicate and say, you know, honey, you know, what you said about my outfit and looking like a Sprite can, that hurt my feelings. I mean, you're able to, not that you're being sensitive or too sensitive, but you need to be able to set healthy boundaries when something's when something is not right. That's the lines of communications you have in a healthy relationship, because what happens is with the love addict, they let things go and go and go. And what's happening inside is like something's festering, and resentment and hurt and bitterness. And I'm just pushing all this stuff down. Now I begin to fester like a wound inside. And all of a sudden the person's going to become upset and they just kind of pop off. And you're like, what's wrong with you? Instead of them dealing with things as they come, little by little, addressing issues as they come, they kind of stuff them down, and because they don't want to be rejected. So they just kind of keep just taking it in and dealing with it, which is not healthy for anyone. In a healthy, functional, mature relationship, you're able to talk things over, agree to disagree, or even if you don't have the same opinion, because you love that person, respect them, you hear their opinion, or you hear what they have to say, and if it hurts you because they love you, they're mindful of that, and they be a lot more sensitive in having that knowledge. You look for, unloved addict, you look outward for another fix, feel, or complete something to complete you. But in a healthy relationship, your love flows from inside based on feelings of sufficiency. You're a whole, sufficient person. You flow that love out of that as it goes into another person you share that with. But with the love addict, they're looking to be fixed and be filled. They want you to fix them, so they want to pull from you and keep wanting to have you pour into them to make them feel better about themselves. The love addict, you may have one or more people lined up in case the current relationship ends. And in a healthy relationship, you focus on the relationship without needing a ready replacement should it end. So love addicts can, again, we talked about love addict, sex addict, those things, they put relationships around the nucleus or the lifeline or oxygen tank of living or breathing. So they're always having to have somebody there to attach to. So they'll have second and standbys just in case something doesn't work out. I'll keep this person as a little black book. If I break up this person, I'll just call this person. It's like a rebound. Having somebody in place of like a rebound, or connecting with somebody right away. The first person they meet, they want to just attach to, like a leech or something, to suck life out of someone, because they're trying to again get that oxygen tank of love. The love that they're looking for is, they feel like is what make them complete. And in reality, it's dysfunctional. It's more lust. And love addiction, you find emotionally unavailable or abusive partners. Because of dysfunction in and of itself of love addiction and wanting to have the rewired brain and wanting to have that high of being in love and infatuation, they are drawn to others that also have ordinarily some kind of addiction or some kind of dysfunction or some kind of abuse going on. They connect to those people because that dysfunction draws dysfunction. In a healthy love relationship, you find emotionally available partners who treat you well. So there's that part right there, being treated well, setting boundaries, being treated well, understanding when you are being treated well, and when you're not, you address it. If a person doesn't want to treat you right, you move on. So in a love addiction, you idealize the other person, but then devalue him or her when the idolization wear thin. So you idolize this person. When they're not what you want them to be, you begin to devalue them because you're upset because they're not who you want to be. There's that tendency again. In a healthy relationship, you have a balanced view of your partner's strengths and weaknesses. Everybody in this world have strengths. Everybody in this world have weaknesses. That's just the way the human nature is, because we are human, to be humans, to err, and also to have strengths and weaknesses. This person think everybody's going to be perfect all the time, and when they're not perfect, they're upset, they're disappointed, and they attack the person or devalue them. They make them feel like they're not worth it. Love addicts, you may use excessive seductive behavior to attract or keep a partner. So there's always this in my face, always touching, always feeling, always trying to express, always trying to have sex. It's like You're constantly using sexual or seduction or sex appeal to keep this person in your life. In a healthy relationship, your sex life is an expression of an authentic connection with your partner. Sex addicts, you hide or ignore aspects of yourself or your partner that you fear would jeopardize the connection. So instead of addressing things that are not healthy, addressing things from yourself, taking a self-examination, self-help, or just taking a look at the man in the mirror and dealing with the things that are not okay, that you know are not healthy, you kind of ignore them. And because you don't want to jeopardize and fear of losing this person. And if this person's also got some kind of character flaw that's abusive, remember the abusive person or addictive person with substance or alcohol abuse, instead of addressing those things, you fear of jeopardizing the connection, so you kind of just ignore it. But in a healthy relationship, you accept parts of yourself and your partner that you don't like and strive for awareness and transparency. You accept those parts and you strive for awareness and transparency, so you talk about them. You guys share about them. You make each other accountable, and you help encourage them as they're trying to work on them, but you accept them for who they are. Love addict, you have overwhelming fantasies or obsessive thinking about the relationship, which help avoid feelings of emptiness within. So, because the relationship is so shallow and superficial and it's fantasy, it doesn't really give a satisfying connection between the two people, because there's always a void or emptiness driving this. And it's like pouring water in a hole. You're constantly pouring a water into a cup that has a hole, and it keep pouring out and it never fills up because it's not real. It's a fantasy. It's false. But in a healthy relationship, you experience an active presence of a loved one and daily thoughts that stem from a bond of connection. In love addiction, you use romance or sex like a drug to feel good and avoid feeling bad. We alluded to that earlier. But in a healthy relationship, you see romance and sex as an expression of your love. In addiction, you downplay your needs for fear of driving away your partner. In a healthy relationship, you attend to your needs as well as your partner's, knowing that both must be met for a healthy relationship. Love addicts, you ignore, deny, or tolerate dysfunctional behavior, loss of self-esteem, and self-sabotaging behavior to avoid losing the relationship. In a healthy relationship, you know that healthy relationships can be difficult or painful and involve compromise, but do not include self-sabotage or risky behaviors. Love addicts, you shower your partner with affection, attention to compensate for the lack of love you experienced in early life. In a healthy relationship, you offer and receive love, not as compensation for what you didn't get early in life, but as an expression of your healthiest self. Love addicts, you neglect the life responsibilities to pursue relationship dreams. Healthy relationship, you integrate your relationship with others' responsibilities in a healthy balance. Love addiction, you have rapid and inappropriate self-disclosure in an attempt to feel extremely close. You move too fast. It doesn't develop in a natural flow where one get to know other. As you get to know someone little by little, you're building blocks together, like building a Lego block. You do one block at a time, and you lay the foundation. You keep building and building. With love addicts, they want to just hurry up and get straight without the foundation of the house. They just want to put the frame up, throw the doors up, throw the windows up, and move in with the furniture. But everybody knows when a house has no foundation, it's going to crash. So it's very important to build those foundational steps in a relationship so you can get to know each other. And again, the values are the same. You're kind of have the same direction that you're going to have going. You guys are going to come together, and the commitment and dedication you're going to build together. With a love addict, they just want to move on in real quick and get it done because they don't want that rejection to be in their lives again. In a healthy relationship, the self-disclosure deepens with time and trust, again, slowly building on something more foundational, on something more stable. Love addicts, you look to your relationship or partner to make you feel whole, worthy, valuable, and sufficient. Again, a lifeline, the acceptance, the person looking to another person as their nucleus, as their world, to make them feel like they're good, they're sufficient, they're okay. No person can really do that for you. You have to know that. That's an internal trait that's within yourself. And it really comes in relationship with God, because God is love. And In him we live, breathe, and have our being. It's him who gives our identity. They're trying to find their identity from what another person say, when in fact we should get that from our higher power, or I'll say in this case from your God. In a healthy relationship, your relationship is an expression of feeling whole, worthy, valuable, and sufficient. It's an expression of who you are. You come together. It says that's just an expression and not your lifeline. Love addiction, you tolerate excessive dysfunction, chaos, or pain in relationships for fear of being alone. So your biggest catastrophic worry is being alone. But in a healthy relationship, you do not tolerate excessive dysfunction, chaos, or pain. And you're okay being alone because you know it's okay to be alone if you got to be treated poorly. We would rather be treated with respect and with dignity than be treated with chaos and dysfunction and treat poorly. It's much better to stay alone. And somebody, if you respect yourself, you continue to develop yourself, and you build your confidence, your self-esteem, your self-worth, you have hobbies, you're going to draw people. That confidence is going to draw others like yourself to you. Love addiction, you overlook warning signs and red flags for fear of being disappointed or loved. So you just kind of take anything in. You know it's not healthy. You know the person not treating you right. You know they mistreat you, and you just kind of brush it to the side. You saw maybe girl's phone numbers popping up on the cell phone when you're out, or he's always having to be busy. He's always going to visit his mom. Every weekend he's busy with the boys. He doesn't have time for you. Those are telltale signs that that person is not as faithful as they need to be for their relationship. In a healthy relationship, you address warning signs to determine whether the relationships can be made healthier. So the love addicts ignore the flare flags in fear of being rejected or loved. A person that's healthy, in a healthy relationship, have a healthy view of themselves. They address the warning signs, and then they make an assessment whether the relationship can be made healthier, because at that point you have to look at the relationship as a whole and not say, well, these things are going to go away. No, whatever's happening now is not going to go away. It most likely get worse if you don't address it now. And if that person if you feel like you cannot go on with this person because it's not healthy, it's better to recoil or leave it and preserve your own life and yourself than let that person continue to treat you poorly. And that has all types of repercussions in and of itself. Love addicts, you often feel jealous, possessive, or life or death quality of maintaining the relationship. So if you don't have this relationship, you'll just die. You can't live, breathe without this person. If they leave me, I'm just going to die. I cannot live without that person. But in a healthy relationship, you may feel envy or jealous at times, but these do not become matters of survival. You'll be fine. In a love addiction, you believe you can only be happy and have your life work if you find the right person. In a healthy relationship, you take responsibility for pursuing happiness regardless of whether you are in a relationship. Love addiction, you have a pattern of rarely being without a relationship. In a healthy relationship, you are able to tolerate being single if no appropriate partner is available. This is so important to know. A lot of people, a lot of places deal with love addiction. There's like communities or cultures or networks of people that feel, it's usually high school or college age people or young adults that haven't come to a level of maturity. They feel like they'll rather be with somebody and be miserable than being single and being content. And they don't understand that being single does not mean there's anything wrong with you. This person is always, a person that has a love addiction goes from one person to another person to another person. They never take a break from themselves after the breakup. When you break up with somebody, a part of yourself has been broken apart. I mean, you've been hurt, you've been crushed, you've been smashed. You have to deal with those emotions and process them and get yourself back together to a healthy place where you feel like, okay, this didn't work out with this person. We broke up, but it's not the end of the world. Let me find out who I am. Let me love me. Let me see what I like. Just to look in the mirror at yourself and like yourself, even after a breakup, because the relationship doesn't determine you. It doesn't give you value, and it doesn't strip you from any value. It does not give you identity. You are a person worth loving with or without somebody loving you the correct way or not. You because you live, you are worthy of love. And if somebody doesn't want to respect you and treat you that way, you need to be mindful of that and not allow that. That's setting those healthy boundaries and assessing your relationship and assessing, is this person treating me? Paying attention to those red flags that we talk about. The red flags go up. It's usually when you get a gut feeling like, ooh, that really hurt. That wasn't right. And you ignore that, your conscience telling you to address that with your significant other so you can develop a healthy relationship, or you can make a decision, should I go on or cut this one off? This is probably not for me because I don't want to be hurt, or I don't want anybody disrespecting me or not treating me like a person. A love addiction, you avoid assessing whether a partner is a healthy long-term match for fear of losing chemistry. And sex, and also in love addiction, you frequently fall in love quickly and repeatedly. That means you're over and over. We just alluded to that. And in addictive love, you feel your life would not be worth living without an intimate partner. But in a healthy relationship, this is a mind of a healthy relationship. You're able to tolerate being single if no appropriate partner is available right now. It's okay. Your love may develop quickly or slowly, but not too fast, so rapidly. You, in a healthy relationship, you look deeply and think long-term, knowing that you deserve a healthy, lasting relationship. And in a healthy relationship, you know that many aspects of life combine to make life worth living, not just this relationship. So your relationship doesn't define your whole world. So with us looking at the 30 different areas between a love addiction and a healthy relationship, I hope that was kind of gave definition to where you are in your relationship and maybe identifying things that maybe you're choosing to do, ignoring red flags, making a person too important, ignoring signs where they're not treating you properly. You are worth loving. You are worth knowing, get to know yourself and know what you like and what you don't like. Now, at the end, we're going to do a love diagnosis of a self-test. But right now, I want to talk about reasons why people usually have problems with love addictions. There are 5 reasons behind people have love addictions. I'm going to talk about them individually, and I'm going to stay on them for a little while because I want you to get a full understanding of what's going on. One of those reasons is usually back in childhood. Something happened. The first one is abandonment issues. An underlying cause of love addiction is abandonment issues. Frequently, these issues stem from childhood due to absent parents or caregivers. Abandonment by one's spouse or long-term companion can also lead to love addiction. So it happens in childhood. It happens when you were maybe married or with a companion and they abandon you as well. Abandonment plays many roles in love addiction. It could be that the person is so afraid of being alone that they attach themselves to anyone willing to love them. They don't know how to be alone or who they are with the relationship in their lives. They jump from relationship to relationship, wanting to fill that void of wanting to not be abandoned again. So that's one of the first things. Abandonment is one of the reasons why people have love addictions. The second one is filling the void. One of the most common reasons for a love addiction is that the person is trying to fill a void that they feel without themselves. Their life feels empty and meaningless, and loving someone and being loved in return gives them that meaning. They feel that the only way that they matter into the world is they are in love. People who love to fill a void cannot be alone. They will jump from one relationship to another, constantly seeking out of the high of intense love and seeking approval. These individuals cannot often care for themselves when they are not in a relationship. They fall into severe depression when the relationship's end and only pull out of it when a new relationship will form, which is not healthy whatsoever because that means you're allowing people to control your life. It's like a little puppet with a string. If this person pulls me this way, I'm happy, or this way, I'm happy. But if nobody's pulling my strings and like a puppet, being a puppet on a string, if I'm just sitting there, I'm not content. You're not a puppet. You're not Pinocchio. You are a person. You don't need strings to pull. You can get up and walk on your own. And when you get to the point of understanding these 5 reasons for love addiction and getting up, one of the things that we recommend as counselors is to get some professional help from a licensed counselor even talking to a pastor, as well as they do have love addiction 12-step groups that you can join, and you can talk to other people, and you have a counselor, a professional there that's going to help you deal with those root issues so you can begin to heal in those areas, so you can begin to have a healthy, more functional relationship. So number 3 is, well, that's number 2, filling the void. That was number 2. So number 3, connections between childhood and addiction. Many people who are addicted to love have issues to deal with from their childhood. They may have been physically cared for, but been emotionally berated in their relationship with family or caregivers. Once others were abandoned at a young age by someone close to them, or they may have endured some other kind of trauma or abuse. So that's connection between childhood and addictions. While not everyone with a love addiction has these challenges in the past, most people do have issues stemming from childhood. This is true of most addictions, including drug and alcohol or gambling addictions. The addiction provides something that they feel they have been missing out on for most of their lives. And the 4th root for love addiction is childhood trauma. Many people with a love addiction have suffered some type of childhood trauma. It could be one isolated incident or a lifetime of abuse. Emotional abuse, verbal abuse, and physical abuse can all lead to a love addiction. As a result of abuse, the person feels that they are unlovable or unworthy, and the highs of an intense love relationship give them solace from the tragedy they have suffered. Sexual abuse is being also leading cause of love addiction. When a person who was sexually abused as a child becomes an adult, they can often feel that they are in desperate need to approval and love from someone else. These individuals need the high feeling that they get from intense relationship, but often have little or no actual intimacy as a result of the relationship. They are very superficial, but highly sought after for love addiction. And the final one we're going to talk about is the 5th one, addictive role models. If you ever heard me speak before when I was on Let's Talk It Out with Alec, one of the things we talk about is everything reproduces after its own kind. And this is where it goes back to parents, whatever you sow into your child is what the child's going to have. So if you think about it, most of these things that are coming out is something that's been placed in the children. This is how they've been fed. This is what the seeds have been placed in them as they're little children that grew up with these dysfunctions. And the final one is addictive role models. Children see everything that goes on around them and often grow up into adults who make the same mistake as their parents. If a child sees their single mother jumping from relationship to relationship while they are growing up, they may do the same. They grow up seeing their role model is happiest when in a new relationship, and they may come to believe that this is the only way to be truly happy. So we're modeling everything we do in front of our children, and everything we allow them to see, the things we do in front of them, they're going to emulate later on in life. That's who they become, because we are their first role models, and they can't discern between what's good and what's bad because that's all they know. And if you're good enough, you being a parent, to live their life, why won't their offspring be good enough to live that same life? So parents, if you have children, remember to model healthy, functional relationships as well as behavior in front of your children, because whatever you show your child, that's what they're going to have. And I wanted to share something that always inspired me when my children were younger, to remind me of my behavior and the things I choose to do, and to catch myself. And even when I fail, because we all fall, because we are human, to go back and apologize to them. Because most of these things are rooted in children when they're younger. We're going to start in childhood, but breaking a cycle of love addiction is seeking counsel. And that's from a professional counselor, therapist, LCSW, a psychiatrist, a counselor, or again, like I said, going to a 12-step support group for people with love addictions or sex addictions. They have them. You can Google them in the paper. I think we gave a number last week for counselors. You can Google NAMI, N-A-M-I, also a counseling agency, which is worldwide. As we get ready to end and close today, I just want to share with you, there's going to be a part 2. I want to share with you, children learn what they live. I'm going to read this poem, and it's something to think about as you're interacting and as you allow, when you have your own children or you're modeling in front of your children and you're remembering when you were a child, what happened in your own life, if you can recollect some of those things. So you can begin to get professional help, counseling for what you're dealing with and why you're not able to experience love. There's a scripture in the Bible that talks about what love is, and we'll end with that tonight. But for children, learn what they live. If a child lives with criticism, he learns to condemn. If a child lives with hostility, he learns to fight. If a child lives with ridicule, he learns to be shy. If a child lives with shame, he learns to feel guilty. If a child lives with tolerance, he learns to be patient. If a child lives with encouragement, he learns confidence. If a child lives with praise, he learns appreciation. If a child lives with fairness, he learns justice. If a child lives with security, he learns to have faith. If a child lives with approval, he learns to like himself. If a child lives with acceptance and friendship, he learns to find love in the world. So these are the seeds that we plant in our children and why they grow or what they grow up with. And we want to begin to implant these things in our children so they can be healthy, functional individuals. With that being said, I'm going to read what love really is, that I believe, the premise in which I stand, and I share with my family. And that's found in the Bible, 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Now I'm going to go there. I'm going to read it. And next week, we're going to pick up where we left off. And we're going to do a test next week. 40 questions of self-diagnosis of, do you have a love addiction or sex addiction? 1 Corinthians 13 says this: and though I bestow all goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not charity, it profit me nothing. Charity suffers long, and it is kind. Well, love suffers long, and it is kind. Love envieth not. Love is not vain or puffed up. It is not puffed up or self-seeking. Love behaves itself unseemly. Does not behave itself unseemly. Seeketh not her own. Is not easily provoked. Thinketh no evil. Rejoices not in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Love never fails, but where there is prophecy, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish. For the greatest of all these is love. So love is what would endure. But the love we're talking about is true love, or healthy love. That's why we compare love addiction to a healthy relationship. Understanding the two, identifying it, and seeking help from it. I have 10 minutes left, so we can start our 40 questions of self-diagnosis. For those who want to play back the podcast, we're going to ask questions. You can put yes to no to these questions as I read them. There are 40 questions. Number 1 is, have you ever tried to control how much sex to have or how often you would see someone? You can answer yes or no to each one, and that's number 1. Number 2, do you find yourself unable to stop seeing a specific person even though you know that seeing the person is destructive to you? Number 3, do you feel that you don't want anyone to know about your sexual or romantic activities? Do you feel you need to hide these activities from others, friends, family, coworkers, counselors, etc.? Number 4, do you get high from sex and or romance? Do you crash? Number 5, have you had sex at inappropriate times and inappropriate places in or with inappropriate people? Number 6, do you make promises to yourself or rules for yourself concerning your sexual or romantic behavior that you find you cannot follow? Number 7, have you or do you have sex with someone you didn't want to have sex with? Number 8, do you believe that sex and or relationship will make your life bearable? Number 9, have you ever felt that you had to have sex? Number 10, do you believe that someone can fix you? Number 11, do you keep a list written or otherwise, of the number of partners you've had? Number 12, do you feel desperation or uneasiness when you are away from your lover or sexual partner? Number 13, have you lost count of the number of sexual partners you've had? Number 14, do you feel desperate about your need for a lover, sexual fix, or future mate? Number 15, have you or do you have sex regardless of the consequences? Example, the threat of being caught, the risk of contracting herpes, gonorrhea, AIDS, etc. Number 16, do you find that you have a pattern of repeating bad relationships? Number 17, do you feel that your only or major value in a relationship is your ability to perform sexually or provide an emotional fix? Number 18, do you feel like a lifeless puppet unless there is someone around with whom you can flirt? Do you feel that you're not really alive unless you are with your sexual romantic partner? Number 19, do you feel entitled to sex? Number 20, do you find yourself in a relationship that you cannot leave? 21, have you ever threatened your financial stability or standing in the community by pursuing a sexual partner? 22, do you believe that the problems in your life, your love life, result from not having enough of or the right kind of sex, or from continuing to remain with the wrong person? 23, have you ever had a serious relationship threatened or destroyed because of outside sexual activity? 24, do you feel that life will have no meaning without a love relationship or without sex? Do you feel that you would have no identity if you were not someone's lover? 25, do you find yourself flirting or sexualizing with someone even if you do not mean to? 26, does your sexual and or romantic behavior affect your reputation? 27, do you have sex and or relationships to try to deal with or escape from life's problems? 28, do you feel uncomfortable about your masturbation because of the frequency with which you masturbate, the fantasies you engage in, the props you use, and or the places in which you do it? 29, do you engage in the practice of voyeurism, exportism, etc., in which that brings discomfort and pain? 30, do you find yourself needing greater and greater variety and energy in your sexual or romantic activities just to achieve an acceptable level of physical and emotional relief? Number 31, do you need to have sex or fall in love in order to feel like a real man or a real woman? 32, do you feel that your sexual and romantic behavior is about as rewarding as hijacking or revolving door? Are you jaded? 33, are you unable to concentrate on other areas of your life because of thoughts or feelings you are having about another person or about sex? 34, do you find yourself obsessing about a specific person or sexual act even though these thoughts bring pain, craving, or discomfort? 35, have you ever wished you could stop or control your sexual or romantic activities for a given period of time? Have you ever wished you could be less emotionally dependent? 36, do you find the pain in your life increasing no matter what you do? Are you afraid that deep down you are unacceptable? 37, do you feel that you lack dignity and wholeness? 38, do you feel that your sexual and or romantic life affects your spiritual life in a negative way? 39, do you feel that your life is unmanageable because of your sexual and or romantic behavior or your excessive dependency needs? And 40, have you ever thought that there might be more you could do with your life if you were not so driven by sexual or romantic pursuits? So those are yes and no questions. And these questions are to be used as guidelines to identifying possible signposts of sex and love addiction. They are not intended to provide a surefire method of diagnosis, nor can negative answers to these questions provide absolute assurance that the illness is not present. Many sex and love addicts have varying patterns which can result in very different ways of approaching and answering these questions. Despite this fact, we have found that short, to-the-point questions have often provided an effective tool for self-diagnosis, as have lengthy explanation of what sex and love addiction is. We appreciate that the diagnosis of sex and love addiction is a matter that needs to be both very serious and very private. We hope that these questions will prove helpful. So if you answer yes to any of these questions, it's a self-diagnosis. You can gauge yourself and what you're dealing with. Inside yourself, you know if you have a content, healthy, whole, mutual, respectful relationship with healthy people, building a life together, and you're dealing with or you're addressing red flags that may come up, and you both have a healthy solution that you work on together. That's the mutual part in the relationship, where you're building a healthy relationship, and opposed to a sex addict ignoring red flags, ignoring that they're being treated poorly, ignoring that they have to have this person in life to feel whole, or fantasizing about a person and ignoring things that are crippling or hurtful to them, and they're in a not a good place, and they accept the maltreatment of other people so not to be rejected or not to destroy the relationship. It's okay if we touch fire and we pull our hand away and we get burned, and not to let our hands burn up. It's the same way with poor relationships, or us understanding now that we have a love addiction and getting professional help for the love addiction, going to a 12-step group, or get in touch with a psychological therapist like a NAMI or a hotline for addictions, because that's a form of addiction. And the same number I gave you last week, and I'll list that in the podcast, a number you can call if you need help. As always, this is February. It is Valentine's Day, and it's time for everyone to experience love in its true capacity, because you are human, you are a person, you do have value, and you deserve to be loved. But you have to realize it inside of yourself for you to draw others to you. And when you're healthy, you will draw others that are healthy to you. So as you deal with your addiction, as you deal with those dysfunctions, as you deal with those deep roots from childhood or from abandonment from a spouse or companion, then you'll get tools and you'll find healthy ways to communicate and relate to somebody in a healthy way. So you can too experience love in its true form and true pleasures of loving, giving and receiving love. But for now, I am Bonnie LaPorta. I'm your host for Addictions, and I would like to say addictions and healthy coping skills and healthy lifestyles. And I will see you back here Monday, and we'll talk about part 2 of love addiction. Until then, I hope you have a great day and have a great evening, and see you next week.